We come to the next building, Mondeal Heights, which is a commercial building in Ahmedabad, and it's on SG Highway. The factor for sustainability in this project was, especially if you look back again to this slide, is the deep niches we have created for the sunlight to reduce the solar impact of the heat impact of the solar heat impact. We have created a building with a complete facade in the front, which was added as a glass fiber reinforced concrete on top of it, and with this way we created the sharpness of these sharp edges like a precast concrete building. We see how it is embedded here in the urban fabric, in the urban context, and it became one of the #1 addresses for business in Ahmedabad. We have some more pictures about this project. A view from the top. And we go to the next project, is the Mondeal Retail Park in Ahmedabad, which was actually the first project which I did when I came to India nearly 10 years ago now. And in this project, we have especially the parameter for sustainability was that we created an open mall, what is in Ahmedabad not very common, and we try to still make the circulation space, the common circulation space, in a comfortable zone. And we have used this huge tensile construction as a shading element, and also added a lot of green and water bodies, even with water fountains for evaporation, for the cooling for that. We see the open mall, we see the wind direction which can pass through, we see the elements for the cooling, and what also is a nice effect that we cut the tensile construction in a way that is not really covered like a saucepan to have just a shading. It has a certain effect, a little bit a natural effect like being under a tree. And you have the shades and the light and the shades on the walls of the building surrounding. The next building is Kydex Elect, which is a residential building. Here we have especially looking for the air ventilation, air circulation. We have cut the building mass in 4 segments. We have 4 units for apartments, but each apartment has 4 outer elevations. So we can make easy cross ventilation. And the second part is that we have provided an extended cantilever outside, so that we could plant a green strip around each apartment, which gives a very nice impression. It actually gives a little bit of impression of a more than of a bungalow than of an apartment in a high-rise building. Here we see the air ventilation, the cross ventilation, which is possible in each building. You see here a close-up of it, where we have integrated 3 typologies of apartments, a split up apartment, split down apartment, and they're interlocked. And you see also the green planters, which we have arranged all over in the apartment. Yeah, here we see the typologies of the apartments, the 3 typologies of the apartments. We see the material selection, which I think is also made in a way that is quite long-lasting. And here is the building at the moment. The green is growing, it's growing more and more. And I think in some time it will be very green buildings in Ahmedabad, and the response is really great that we have that we get from the people who are living there, especially that fact that we have an extended balcony all around with a green strip, which gives you a wonderful feeling of living. Yeah, there's a night view. And here we see that green strip, which is all around in the apartments, and this is the interior view, which also shows the double height area. Next project would be a building in the Philippines. It's a residential building in the Philippines, which more or less follows the same parameters. We have 4 high-rise buildings. What we could do here more, we could play with the shape, with the balconies more and more. And we added a lot of green in these balconies. As you see here, we were shifting and twisting the balconies, which is good also for the plants to grow in a good way, for the shading good, and it's also giving a nice overall shape of the building. Yeah. We see also the planters is not just small planters. We give huge planters to also guarantee a great vegetation and a really lush green vegetation at each apartment. That is the arrival area. That is an internal shot. We come to the next project. The next project is a master plan, and not only the master plan, it's also the student housing for Flame University in Pune. Here we see the student housing. We are also doing the auditorium at this stage, but the focus should be on the student housing. As we see, it's a sloped area, and the important point for me was that we bring the vertical green, which we take away because of the building mass which we are putting there, to bring it to the vertical, and especially because of the point that we have such a huge building mass, it should merge with each other, and it should give this overall green feeling. We have here a plan of the whole area. This all is the plan of the student housing. We have developed certain typologies over there. That is the auditorium in the same compound. Here we see the student housing in the mass, and we hope it one day will merge with the greenery all around. And we see what we have. We have a huge floor plate which provides a wonderful shading together with the green facades all around. I think it will provide a very comfortable climate for the users. Yeah, in this we see this slide shows just the impact of the surrounding green, also not only the green on the vertical green in the buildings, but also the surrounding green, which has a great cooling effect if we embed the green as well around the building and along the building facade. Also, the arrangement of the buildings we see it's quite advantage to let the air circulation flow through the buildings. That is another effect, again, for the shading, for the natural ventilation, and the evaporation cooling, and also shading from the plantation. We go to Bangalore now, where we have worked together with an office for landscape architecture. We had worked on a master plan before we moved on a particular building. So in that master plan, that is an existing huge complex, which was a manufacturing unit and is converted towards IT unit, more or less. It is a huge advantage for the company because it is a great location. It's more or less in the city center, and it's an old-grown system which we have there. So this is the existing master plans with huge buildings, halls for the manufacturing. What we tried is to connect them all together with a big boulevard, but also to keep the elements as they were before. Whatever we found, we try to work with it. We try to keep all the green. We also try to keep the building masses where it was possible. It is also about a grown identity in such a place which has a history already. So what we see here, we see that all trees, which were all, I mean, they are all, I think, 40, 50, 60 years old. And we see here a very big plant, which is the next step in the project, where we have implemented the new office buildings, but also take advantage and use of the existing beautiful hall. So that is obviously the flexibility and the reuse and reorganization of existing built environment is a very important point, not to just demolish and make it new. And I think it, on top of it, especially in India, where we have so many new things, it's a wonderful aspect of additional quality which we can create with adding the element, adding the existing elements into it. Yeah, next building we go back to Ahmedabad, which is a much smaller project. It's a play school. What was in this play school in focus was obviously the child, the human child, and especially as it was considered to very modern ideas of how to bring up children. Um, uh, it was the connectivity to inside the main driving, inside outside, the main driving idea behind the design. So we have, I think, 8 classrooms, and we have huge circulation spaces, and the inside and outside is floating into each other. We have lime plaster walls. We have these huge shaded elements of for circulation, but it's not only circulation. Actually, it has a quality for the children to play there and whatever in a, I think, beautiful environment, well shaded in the climate context of Ahmedabad. And yeah, here is an overview, a bird's eye view from the project, which sees how scattered it is flowing into the landscape around. The plants are still growing on the slabs. Yeah, so here this also this classroom to create awareness for green, and they have a wonderful laboratories and other places for children to play. Here's a inside view of one of the classrooms entrance. Okay. Now we come to a complete different typology. We come to a private residence in Ahmedabad. It's a very big private residence in Ahmedabad. In this project, the focus was, especially there was also a project which I made in an early time when I came from Germany. So what in Germany is absolutely normal is a complete insulation layer around the buildings, because we have different climatic parameters. But in this building, we also tried, or not tried, we did the same. That means all walls is not just a simple concrete wall or other wall. All walls have three layers with an insulation layer in the middle. We have also surrounding water bodies for some cooling, and even internal water bodies we do have. And the effect of the insulation layer in between is really enormous. If we, for example, see this edge of the wall where we have an insulation layer, this is the east side. If the sun hits on this side, we touch the wall. We touch the wall from inside with our hand, and from outside where we have no insulation layer, we see how concrete is really heating up with the solar, with the sun, and with the solar energy, and how we can break that with insulation layer. So another point what we made here is that we said, okay, let's try also to to add one additional layer of cooling system, that we add a two-stage cooler for a long time, where we can use, where we not in the need to use the air condition, but still can create a comfortable interior climate with a two-stage cooler. So the two-stage cooler goes from the central hall, comes out here, and brings dead air. I think at least in the hot and dry months, this is a very nice option to reduce energy consumption in a tremendous way. I think a two-stage cooler takes around 10% or whatever of air condition. And the period for where we actually read the real air condition is much minimized. These are some interior shots. Here we see the flow from inside to outside. We see the shading elements, also good for privacy. We see the water body where it sit around and the minimal use of materials. Yeah, and then we have a final night view from the bungalow, from the garden side. Next project is a commercial quarter in Navi Mumbai, a little bit outside of Mumbai, which was a very interesting project. It was also developed in the Masterplan cooperation with another office, and the buildings were then developed from our office. So the Masterplan, the whole quarter wanted to be a very sustainable quarter, and on top of the sustainability, we had a strong focus on the well-being, how we can bring a different typology in typical campus architectures. So in the campus, the walkability was an important factor. To activate the ground floor was very important. The viewing axis and the shaded colonnade for the walking. Yeah. So what we wanted to achieve is not to have an individual architectural language as we normally have in a campus, but we wanted to have a city-style character with a diverse idea of buildings, elevations, and so on. Breaking the volumes. Yeah. So what we did, we had the measures for the volumes. We tried then in each building in an individual way to break the volumes, and often these parts of design input was then used also for the greenery. You see, we have all the buildings have a different name, have a different identity. Then we have the hanging garden, we have the void, we have the sky garden building, we have the city terraces, we have the shifted or twisted building, we have the cube, and we have the canyon. And the idea is to say also for the identity, I'm working in block number 13 or 14, but that you can say, see, I work in the building with the canyon, or I work in the canyon. Yeah, important was especially the parameters of well-being, as I said, to integrate communication spaces and green in the whole quarter. This is a close-up of the building. Here's another building. A second building is building number 3, which is designed. We see the communication spaces with double height areas, which we integrated in more or less all of the buildings. Elevation of this building, a view of building 4. We see in all buildings have their own identity. All buildings have integrated the green. And finally, we have a night view of the whole quarter. And the side picture. Yeah. I mean, here, as I said, the green was important, not only in the exterior, also to bring in the interior, because we have these research papers which showed an enormous increasing of happiness of the users if there is a direct visual connection towards the green, and that increases the happiness, increases the productivity. Yeah. And obviously, it's not only the outside, it's not only the green, it's also the daylight, all these parameters which we try to improve and bring in a perfect way into our designs have a very positive response on the human body. We go now to the next building, the corporate building in Ahmedabad, a corporate building in Ahmedabad, which is now under construction. The structure is ready till 6th floor. It's actually next to that building, which you have seen maybe in the beginning, which is where is our office placed. It was one of the first buildings we have made in the city. Now the next building is coming up, and I'm really, really happy that in this building we were able to uh, to to bring the client to accept this idea of adding really green in the vertical, like green. It's a green canyon or green. Uh, um, yeah, the greenery which is visible from all the floors, from inside outside. It's not only the green outside; it's the green inside. I mean, we have talked already about the advantages of green earlier. Here we want to show that the green is not only inside, not only outside, it's also inside. That is a night view of it, and I think it will be one of the first buildings in Ahmedabad which have, even in this difficult climatic context, very hot, very dry, such a green facade in a larger scale. I think it is as the nature adapts anyway um, to each place where on our planet. The important thing is to make the right selection of plants to get this vision also then into reality. Um, to have the right plants in east side, west side, south side, and obviously to the Gujarat climate. Now we have our first building with a complete green facade, which is in Hubli. And what we did here is that because Hubli is not a place where we get high advanced facade technologies, we had to break down to a very basic idea of how to make a green facade. I think it went out very well. Its absolute highlight, I would say, it's the building of the city now. At the moment, it's the talk. I get great response on it, and if we see what it adds, even in that minimum possibilities, what we can do, because the plot is nearly completely used by the construction, but at least we were able to get back the green in the vertical. We have some interior pictures. And then also from inside, it's very nice. Again, what we see, we have this connectivity to nature, also from the offices inside. And the final night view. The plants were not that grown that time, looking very green and lush now. Yeah, one. I think this is now the last project. We'll finish with this. Is the farmhouse scheme in Bhuj, which is a very large farmhouse scheme also in Gujarat, in west part of Gujarat. And what we try to do there, we tried to make a really very local architecture with use of local materials. We even integrated NGO was part of the construction, which has then the social aspect of sustainability also included. I will move to the pictures because I think we're already a little bit late in time. Yeah, the floor plans. Yeah, we have an entrance gate, huge entrance gate, which brings you, when you step in, hopefully in a different way out to that different world. And then we have these houses with ramped earth walls. We have recycled materials from reused wood and from Alang shipbreaking yard. We have reused tiles, and the materials, the stones, is all from a very narrow circle which is available from the environment. What the response which I got in this project from the from the customers, from the buyers in these houses was so positive that I realized that the more or less what everyone said, it's a happy place. I'm happy when I'm here, and that makes me as an architect very happy, because I think that is a universal thing. If we have as architects the right dimension, the right spatial connections, the right material selections, we are able to create a vibe, which obviously is not possible to measure in a scientific way, but it's a happy place, and that is became then, because of these things, also to a good success for the developer, which is really a great story, because often developers think, yeah, sustainability is expensive and. But in this case, it's a great example that sustainability can be a wonderful, also positive and result for developers. We have also even used wastage of marble, embedded that in a terrazzo flooring. Yeah, that's it. So we end with a slide from our office in Ahmedabad, and which shows that building also with the parameters. The main point in this building was the shading elements, which are continuously covering the facade. So thank you very much for your attention.